What if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I am Sherry Elise, a five-time published author and host of the TV show Good Morning Joy. And I am here in partnership with Brave Healer Publishing to introduce you to some of the amazing authors in one of their newest books called Journal of a Visionary: Strategies for Next Level Mindset and Manifestation. And before I introduce you to these wonderful lady sitting right here for me with me. First, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to our lead author, who just so happens to be the badass CEO of Brave Healer Publishing, Laura DeFranco. Laura, thank you so much for putting this book together. I think that people often think when you're an entrepreneur or a visionary that it all just seems to come together. And there's so much more behind the scenes that keep people getting up every single day, no matter how challenging it is. And this book provides those tips, tools, strategies so that on the days that are hard, you can show up anyway. So thank you, Laura. And now to introduce you to these amazing women. First, I have Caitlin Kogan Domner, and she is the founder of the Institute of Energetics, where they make energy work safe, credible, and accessible to everyone. Charlene M. Michelle, PhD, is the visionary founder of Wisdom Unleashed, a sacred space for embodied empowerment where women reclaim their inner authority, trust their voice, and return home to themselves through intuition, ritual, and lived wisdom. Ladies, it is so wonderful to be spending time with you today. Thank you so much for writing your chapters and for inspiring me. I always, I don't, it's not like I think that I know everything, but when you've been in the space for so long, and you do so much self work, you think that, oh, I've got this. And then of course, there's another level and layer and onion. And I
Yeah.
just want to say that Laura often calls all visionaries her crazy alien badass friends. And it's one of the reasons why she really wrote this book and brought this book together. I'm curious, I'm going to start with you, Caitlin. First, welcome, of course. But tell me, what was your why behind writing this chapter? And talk to us, let us know the name of your chapter and your chapter number.
Yeah, I'm chapter 13, Make Success Somatic, How to Quickly Unlock Your Creative Superpowers. And for me, thinking through the journal of being an entrepreneur, this visionary, the biggest thing that I did for so many years is I just sort of suppressed all of my emotions and my body's sensations and stayed very much in my masculine, just push, drive, achieve, and all of the psychological things that underpin that. But finally, it was like, I think I was in my mid 30s. I had a life coach ask, "Where do you feel that in your body?" And I looked at her like she was speaking a different language. I had no idea what she meant and how to even tap into that physical sensation. And that was sort of it kind of cracked the lid and helped me realize how much I was suppressing and ignoring and numbing out, and really changed my entire world with a single question. And so the thing that I really want to encourage visionaries in general, but women in particular, is how do we get back in touch with our hearts, back in touch with our bodies, and use these vessels of intelligence and wisdom to stay connected and be present with the world around us and the work that we're doing. And really, that I think is what allows us to become the powerhouse world changers that we're destined to be.
Mm. I was so lit up by your chapter. First, in the power in which you gave to us, like to put in perspective, what lives inside us and how connected we are to everything. So many of us hear it, but just to hear, even about the water molecules and the light and the stars, I was like, whoa, I am like a superwoman or super soul, you know.
Yeah.
And just your connection, your allowance of us to realize how important feeling into our bodies is. As someone who has experienced childhood trauma, I know about the whole disconnection, but it actually put together for me because I was a former actress and went to college for it and everything. And it reminded me of being back there and them asking us to get in touch with our bodies. And I had that same reaction. I'm like, what do you mean? What do I feel? Like, I'm just here.
Yeah.
And so your reminder about how important that is, how would you say that, how that attributes to more of our success?
Hmm. Well, I think, and you kind of referenced, I talk about how our DNA is handed to us from our ancestors. So we're carrying hundreds of thousands of years of wisdom in our genetic coding. And then every molecule that we're made of has been the volcanoes and planetary stardust and water all the way through. And then the electrical synapses between our brains started with the Big Bang. And so that just coming back to you are a microcosm of the entire field and helping people to recognize that you are not this separate, discrete island that people think we are. And I think animals are still very much in touch with that field. It's why dogs will like cower when an earthquake is coming and whales can like move out of the way before the tsunami hits. Like animals understand that they are connected to all things and they have access to much greater information than we have access to. And I think at some point, humans' brains developed and said like it was too much information. And so they started filtering it out. And there's probably a lot of evolutionary biology of why it's advantageous to not be bombarded by billions of data points all the time. But at the same time, I feel like we are in this awakening period as a species where we do have the luxury of leisure, that we do get to be safe in our bodies more than we're not safe in our bodies. We're fed more than we are not fed. So we're just moving up Maslow's hierarchy. And as we work towards that self-actualization piece, I actually think it's going to be coming full circle back to
Yeah.
the animalistic instinct, this gut knowing, this heart resonance, this ability to feel the room when you walk into it instead of just be in the room when you walk into it. And so that I think is like the first step is just increasing your awareness gives you access to so much more connection to nature, to one another, to your own self that really is powerful. And then I think the other thing is recognizing that for all of us who are trying to make the world a better place, I want us to live in that space of love and joy and peace and freedom uh, in the journey, not just wait until we arrive at the destination.
Mhm.
And I think so many entrepreneurs in particular will try to push themselves and burn the candle at both ends and wear themselves out because they say, if I can achieve X, then I will get to reward myself with Y. I'm
Right.
like, guys, like let's reverse engineer this and start like begin with the end in mind. Like if you want freedom, choose freedom now. If you want love, choose love now. Like embody these principles rather than cross your fingers and hope that they arrive at a future date, you know?
Right. Yes. So it
Mhm.
sounds like the connection to self, to body, to all of it is what is going to help us thrive and to live much more successful. And depending on how you define success, successful lives. Beautiful. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Charlene, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. So we're talking about our whys behind our chapter. And yours was very touching as well to me and recognized quite a bit of myself. Throw myself under the bus there. But tell us about why you wrote this chapter and your chapter name and number.
Mhm. I wrote chapter 10. I called my chapter The Long Way Home, Transforming Anxiety into Inner Peace. And I wrote the chapter because for many years, as a PhD, we live from our mind. We use our intellect much more than we rely on our intuition. We rely on the data. But I was ignoring the data that my body was sending to me. And it wasn't given to me in numbers, it was given to me in a headache or a pain in my stomach or a pain in my lower back. And so, what I discovered is that I needed to take some time to step back and take a look at what's going on in my life and how can I deal with the situations I'm dealing with without always feeling anxious and without referring to medications. Because I'm also an Ayurveda specialist and I believe in preventative rather than reactive medicine. And so behind the chapter, I was looking at how do I listen to the signals from my body and tune into my body, mind, and my soul.
It was it was such a I'll use joy. And it's like to read your story, even though your story for some, well, and for yourself probably was challenging at, of course, like
Yes.
any of ours. I want to just give credit to the journey that you took me on when you started just with the 3 a.m. and that well familiar you share. Can you share a little bit about the 3 a.m. moment? Because I feel like a lot of us
Yeah.
may have that.
The 3 a.m. moment, also as an Ayurveda specialist, 3 a.m. is a time when our minds are active. They're active in a way, they're supposed to be detoxifying. And what they're actually doing is they're sending us signals. So I would wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and my mind would say, oh my God, we've got a story to write. We've got a garden to design. We have a book to read. We have this to do. We have that to do. And my body would just say, shut up, let me sleep. And the
Mm.
mind wouldn't stop. It always had a dream. It always had that next step that it wanted to go to. And my body kept saying, leave me alone. And then finally at 3 a.m., about 3:30 a.m., the storm came in and the rain came down. And you know how cleansing the rain is. And the
Mhm.
rain came down and cleansed the thoughts that were going through my mind and allowed me to go back to sleep.
Yeah, it was, I think it was the way you just shared this the difference or the welcoming of intuition versus anxiety, and just how you shared like how all of that is so welcome during the day, but at night your body just wants to rest and recover. And it was just from a creative standpoint, I'm talking, like it was just so beautifully, like I said, put. Like I was just taken on this journey that helped me to do some self-reflection and go, how much of what you're doing is working from an anxious mode and anxiety mode versus intuition, and really recognizing the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, go ahead.
Anxiety is something good. It's an adrenaline flow.
Mhm.
It's something good as long as it doesn't go too far.
Right.
And I have to say, this chapter channeled through to me at that 3 a.m. in the morning.
Very interesting. So, yes, it isn't about cutting it off, but it's knowing when to, I guess, how to channel it, as you
Yeah.
said, and
Yeah.
maybe that every night it's not at 3 or 3:30 in the
Oh,
morning.
and I'm happy if it's not because I do need my rest just like everybody else does.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
I can't be that visionary out there doing something amazing for the future.
Right.
So,
Which you both are doing. And what I love about just Laura's books in general is, you get the stories, right? You get the inspiration, you get the motivation, but then she also provides the strategies. So every one of you at the end of your story shared a strategy. So visionaries can be able to, as Laura says, show up every single day, no matter what. Um, I have found that one of the marks of, a master, as we all know, is a beginner's mind, right? Not just me. I haven't found that. We all know a
mhm,
beginner's
mhm.
mind. And a lot of visionaries use their curiosity superpower in this journey of being a visionary. I'll stay with you, Charlene. What's another superpower do you think that visionaries use when they think about serving all day long?
For me, I have two
Hmm.
that I like to rely on. The first one is we talked about intuition.
Yep.
We talked about intellect, intuition, but the inner trust, just trusting that I know what's good for me. I used to have people saying, oh, trust me, I know what's good for you. And I said, how do you know what's good for me? You haven't asked me. Oh,
Yeah.
but I know I've had so much experience. And that used to upset me more than a lot of other comments that I received because people were
Mm,
making decisions for me that I actually knew weren't in my best interest. So
yeah.
my inner trust, and the other one was what Caitlin was referring to, is embodiment. Just being sensitive to the signals that our body is giving to us. If we're working too hard, typically we will get a headache or maybe our eyes will feel strained. And just be aware that that's a signal our body is saying, hey, time for a break. It's time for a pause. And
Yeah.
just taking the time to listen to that.
We recently, Laura just released a book on burnout.
Yeah.
Funny enough, yeah. And as you talk about, as you just mentioned, not listening to your body, it's, burnout is the thing because you're not recognizing where you're at. And I just see so much of what you all are sharing in the preventative aspect because to be able to help people even from getting to that space because if you get to burnout, then you don't have space for that creativity. You don't have space for that vision. You can't show up and do what it is that you do every day.
And you've already caused more damage to your body
Right.
if you've gone into that phase of burnout.
Yeah.
If you catch it early on, you can actually take care of it early on.
Yes. So we don't have to get to that space. I love that.
Yeah.
Caitlin, what about for you? Besides curiosity as a superpower on this journey, is there anything else that you would consider a superpower to be a visionary?
I think faith is the
Mm.
broadest term, and it doesn't have to be any particular spiritual flavor. But I found like everything in my life kind of boils down to two statements of faith, and I can't prove them, but when I believe them, my life works smoother than when it don't.
Yes.
So the first one is that everything is always working out for my highest good and the highest good of all involved. And if I can't see how it's working out for my highest good and the highest good of all involved, I trust that we are not at the end of the story and that this is going to unfold perfectly in its fullness of time. And then the second one is everyone is always doing the best that they can with what they have and where they're at. And this one's sometimes harder to swallow, but it always reminds me to have grace, not just with others, but also with myself, that I also need to have compassion on myself, that I am always doing the best I can with what I have and where I'm at. And that those two kind of tenets of faith, like a creed, these are the things that allow me to stay even keeled, find my equilibrium no matter what's going on around me, because there will always be ups and downs, circumstances that are positive and pleasant and negative and challenging. But that kind of is my personal anchor in the middle of the storm.
Yeah, I got a vision. So it's funny you just said storm. I just got a vision of what you said, the faith being like a buoy, to
Mhm.
be able to come back up, to
Yeah.
continually, yeah, to bounce back, resilience. And I would say on
Hmm.
a personal level, like faith is one of like always believing in the good,
Yeah.
both in myself and other people. And curious if as a visionary and seeing and then being able to follow through with that, how I'm going to ask you both this as it just came to me, like how do you know, because we've talked about intuition, we also know that for so many visionaries that we just stay focused on what it is. How do you know when to move on from an idea? I know. Or when do you just keep sticking it out?
This one's hard for me because
Yeah.
if you've ever taken the Colby assessment, I'm a 9 out of 10 quick start and a 2 out of 10 follow through. So I
Mm.
have about 100 interesting ideas in a week, an entire folder of things that I will
Yeah.
never get around to
Yeah.
executing. And even the ones that I start, probably 1 in 10 of them actually get finished all the way. So part of it is I've just started to have a really open relationship with my muse, which is like, hey, I will stay as open as I can to all of the interesting things that you will come in, and I will like gestate them and I will play with them and I will talk to the people in my life around it. And what I've gotten increasingly better at is doing what I call small bets. So big vision, small bet is I've got a lot of really cool things that I want to try, but how can I test and see if there's actually traction in the marketplace?
Hmm.
Can I sell one copy of it? Can I sell like get bring on one investor for this? Like, what are the tiny things that allow me to kind of say, is there actually receptivity in the world for me to bother birthing this thing?
Hmm.
Because I've learned that birthing always takes more time, more energy, and more money than I ever estimate that it will. And so I've recognized that if I want to do anything well, it requires saying no to a lot of other things. And for somebody who is almost cat-like in her distaste for closed doors, I really, really want to like leave all of my options open all of the time. But I'm realizing like no, when I'm invited, and I use human design quite a
Hmm.
bit. So as a projector, I'm supposed to wait for the invitation. So I have lots of really great ideas, and I just sort of will like talk about them, and then I wait for somebody to like invite me into movement with these. And I trust that the universe is like helping me navigate down this river. I have a lot of momentum, but there's also a lot of boulders. And so it's like staying in flow and
Hmm.
recognizing like I'm really not attached to any particular way that this has to show up, but holding my vision, holding my values, and staying committed to those two things in the midst of all of the shiny objects that are
Yeah.
constantly around. And I never know because I've had the craziest tangents end up being like, oh, that's my soulmate relationship, or that's the thing I was absolutely meant to be. And it looked nothing like the plan that I had put on paper. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is a blend of like being flexible, but also like testing it out. And I've also done the other thing where I spent like 100 grand trying to make a business idea work that I could not figure out how to make it profitable. And finally, like a year and a half in, I had to like pull the plug and say, hey guys, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I can't make this work. So that's what kind of taught me to do the small bets and like work in collaboration with others and the universe, as opposed to like, I'm going to push this through because I think it's a good idea,
Right.
despite all of the resistance that I'm facing. Yeah.
Yeah. And probably feeling, I would say, as someone who is somatic, there probably is an element of in your body too, with ideas and all of that. I just asked that. That was because I know there's a visionary sitting there right now that like has 10,000 ideas. Charlene, do you have an answer for that, a thought around that?
Same. I mean, I can resonate with Caitlin. Because I have thousands of ideas,
Yeah.
thousands of things that I want to do, but I've learned over time that I can't do everything. I can't be in all places at all times. And I've learned that I've had to focus on a few key things. Right now, those things are golf because it's summertime. It's beautiful
Hmm.
outside. It's gardening because I love, again, to be outside in my garden. And it's writing. It's writing a chapter for a book or leading a book project, which is something that I am embarking on right now. Human design. I'm a generator. I'm a generator. And I'm supposed to wait for my sacral to say what is right for me. And so I always ask myself the question, is it a yes?
Hmm.
And if it's a yes right away, it's a yes.
Yeah.
But if it's a, oh, I'm not sure, maybe, no, it's a no. And I
Yeah.
have to accept that. And it helps me move on quicker than before I knew what my human design type was.
Love that, ladies. There's so much wisdom in this book, listeners. You have to check this out, specifically these two ladies. And just as you just shared right now, you brought me, the gardening and the golf, and I'm like, oh, and she lives in Switzerland. I'm like the whole balance of living a life that works for you and inspires you and is creative. Just beautiful. I'm going to stick with you, Charlene. Before we go, what is the most important thing that you want our listeners to know about transforming anxiety into inner peace?
Yeah, I want to take a line from my chapter actually on this.
Yeah.
As I transform anxiety to inner peace, I have to realize that I have all the answers inside.
Mm.
I know what's good for me if I only take enough time to stop and listen. Because the long way home isn't geography or the distance traveled. It's when the mind and the body no longer compete with each other and my soul is finally heard. So just silence the mind, listen to the body, and work and allow them to work in coherence with one another so that you can actually live the best life that you want to live. And if you ever want to come to Switzerland, we can go on a road tour together.
Okay. Like, it's like, it's on, yeah, you don't have to tell me twice. Okay. And literally, as you said that though, my whole, not the Switzerland part, the other part, you're like, my whole body just exhaled in that because I think for so many, I think visionary or not, that whole, you know, that between the mind and the body and the soul and just all of that that we all face every day, I think to find that coherence is, whether we know it or not, the ultimate goal and
Mm.
peace and
Yeah,
joy as someone
yeah,
that works in the joy space.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
That's
yeah.
where you find the joy of your life.
Yes.
I'll just add one last statement.
Yeah.
Before my dad passed, he passed away 4 years ago. It was COVID. He was 93 years old. He had a beautiful life. He also used to love to come to Switzerland. The last words my dad said to me, daughter, I just want you to be happy.
Mm, that was it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was it. My grandfather on his deathbed, my whole life, all he did was tell me to get my head out of the clouds and I've got to find something secure and stable and all of that and your job. And at the end, all he talked to me about was love and family and happiness and nothing about work and stability and all of that came up. And so the same lesson was, you know, that joy, that's what I
Yeah.
received.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing joy to me today. And I know that to our readers, just reading your story. Caitlin, what is the most important thing that you want us to know about? Let's go straight off your title, Unlocking Your Creative Superpowers.
Hmm. Well, I was thinking about those tools that we talked about in the
Mhm.
book, and one of the ones that has been most helpful for me has been art. I used to think of art as a noun, like this is something you make and produce, and now I think of it as a verb, like I'm going to go art, or I'm going to go arting, and just taken a lot of pressure off. So one of the activities that I do in the book is like closing your eyes and using a crayon to like put on paper what you feel in your body and just building that connection, that feedback loop. Um, if you want to try it with your non-dominant hand, it makes it even more fun. But the whole point is you're not making art. You're using artistic tools to express to make external what's internal. And that really has become such a valuable tool for me to say, like, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling exhausted, if you're feeling distracted, just like put a crayon, and I love crayons because they bring us back to that kind of childhood wonder. Um,
Mhm.
and don't look at the paper at all. Look at the tree. Feel into your body. Like keep your eyes closed or keep your eyes on the horizon, but just allow your subconscious, your left hemisphere to your right hemisphere to come online and like access different parts of yourself than you access in most of your day-to-day life. And so it's kind of like a shortcut. It works better than meditation for those of us who are neurodivergent and have a tendency to get little monkey mind while we are trying to sit quietly in a spot. So it's more like a moving meditation that allows us to like clear some of the cognizant clutter and just make space for what wants to emerge from underneath.
Yes. Yeah, I loved it. And I was like, I am going to try it, especially after you gave me permission by sharing that you only had one leg and two arms. I was like, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, great. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try it. Both of you, your tools, your insights, your heart. Thank you for being just a part of this book. And thank you for what you do in the world and for being here to share it with everyone. And to our listeners, this whole book and community is way more than just what it looks like on the surface. This is a generous community who is there for you to answer questions, to carry on beautiful conversations like this, and to support you on your journey. So, if anything that we talked about today resonated with you, please go down to the show notes where we shared with you these authors' links and feel free to explore and to connect with them and find out what they have going on. And then, of course, we hope that you hop on over to Amazon, grab your copy of this amazing book today for you and for someone else. The link is also below. And then, lastly, everyone here in the Brave Healer community wants you to remember that your words will change the world when you're brave enough to share them. It's time to be brave. We will see you next time, everyone. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here today.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sherry.
Sherry.
Thank you,
Thank
Caitlin.
you.
Bye.